Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another Topics on the Edge. I have the honor of talking with my mind coach, Steve Goldstein. Thank you so much for joining me.
I tell you what, it is a real pleasure, Adam. You were one of my favourite clients. You remember that?
Yeah,
And
I remember you saying that, and
yeah,
it was I still go back. I've shared a couple of the sessions with some people, and they said that they were absolute gold. I think that I remember telling you that I really feel like I found out who I am as a person thanks to working with you. And you, like at the very end, I'll never forget. You're like, no, what I do is I line you up, and I feel like that's exactly what you did. You realigned my entire life, and it really came at the best point of my entire life because I had such a huge change in the time that I was working with you. You know, at the very beginning, I was still doing my kickboxing. I was chasing the dream of becoming the best in the world. And then COVID hit, and was trying to figure out like, do I stop kickboxing? Do I go into trading? And then all the difficulties of trying to navigate the trading world, it was a lot. And if I really feel like if I didn't have your help, that I think it would take me a long time to really figure everything out.
yeah, yeah. Well, it does. It does. And excuse me. My British accent's just lost its pitch. It does. Most people never get there. Some people get there a bit quicker than others. Sometimes life circumstances help them or force them to confront themselves. You were going through a lot of, COVID, career change. I know you had this great passion for kickboxing and that, and there was a lot going on in your life, and we all have that, and it just happened at that moment, and then you go into this other crazy world, which is trading, which is, you
Man.
know, it, it's it's it forces you to confront yourself on a kind of minute by minute basis.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
it's really crazy because like I remember listening to a bunch of your podcasts. For those of you guys that don't know, he's a co-host of Alpha Mind podcast, and it's absolute gold. And like you need to go listen to that if you guys haven't listened to it. But
my book.
it
Don't forget the
huh?
book. Don't forget the
Oh,
book.
dude, and the book, like really, the book, like when I read the book, I was like, I felt like I went through another like session, like one-on-one session. I'm like, holy cow, like it was phenomenal, like really, like absolutely phenomenal. And it's funny because like when I'm listening to these guys they've been trading for 20 plus years, and you're like, do you still have bad days? So like, what are you talking about? I had a horrible day today. And but like the only thing that changes is the numbers. And it's really funny because I feel like at the very beginning of your trading career, all you're trying to do is just win. And you have no idea what the hell you're doing. You probably don't even like really have a real understanding of what a system actually is, what your playbook actually is. And then on top of that, when you found like you're trying to figure out all this stuff, but you don't even understand how much your own mindset and the performance side of it, which is one thing that you and I really clicked on, was like talking about the performance and how much of my kickboxing career really translated over into my trading. And I was just like, it was really I feel like because of kickboxing, I really did cut off, like in my personal opinion, probably years off of my development. And because there was so much stuff that really went into that. It was just a different way of, because like money was involved instead of actually fighting somebody, but like the emotions were still the same way. Like I'd get overconfident, or I'd have FOMO, or like I don't know, like really the biggest thing for me was overconfidence was like a big thing. And so I think that like working through all those sessions with you really,
It's
like,
it's
light bulb moments.
it's every sport, every trader I meet who's got a background in performance, not just sport, or martial arts, or but they could come from music background or dance, or art in some other form. They all seem to somehow have a slight edge over everyone else in this game because those activities are so testing. It makes you competitive. sport, music. It teaches you discipline and structure. Um, it tests you to the hill. You're going to always meet people who are better than you, and,
Yeah.
and and you don't give up. And that's what a lot of people I know do give up. I've met people who say, "Yeah, I was into music at a young age. And I was playing guitar, and I thought I was good. And then I saw these guys, and I thought I'm never going to be as good as them. And they gave up. And I was like, no, that's not. Otherwise, no one would become good at guitar. You know, like no one would ever play in a rock band or an orchestra, or you've got to go through, and you're going to be let down. You're going to have auditions you fail. You're going to have teachers that are going to rubbish you. You're going to have notes that you can't hit. You'll try for ages and ages, and you just can't get it. And then something clicks. You know, trading is the same. It requires persistence. It requires patience. It requires discipline. It also requires developing a kind of gut feel. That's the other bit.
That
You know,
that was big for me. That was really big for me.
so so when I meet a kickboxer, we can talk about risk management. Get your gloves up, and
Yeah.
you know what I mean. That's risk management.
Yeah.
Right there. Make it to the end of the round. Sometimes, you've been hit, you've been knocked back, right? But you got to stay in the fight. So you back off a little bit, you go back, you restore your energy. You avoid getting punched a little bit. You have a break at the end of the round. You come back. You're a little bit energy restored, and then you're resyncing. You're reconnected. You know.
You know the one thing that you said to me that like I think it had the biggest impact on my trading that like really for me I feel like it was like the thing that like once I really wrapped my mind around what you were saying and I
Yeah.
understood it that it like really took off like when I went into a fight we'd have combinations that we do and like the more I could follow the game plan the better and like I remember you were talking about like your the process like you see an idea like you get your trigger that makes you enter the trade it either works or it doesn't work you reset you reanalyze it is there another opportunity and like the biggest thing for me was when I was trading like the only thing I cared about and really most traders that I talk to, they're just trying to make money. And like I don't think that they have like an actual like process like what you were talking about. And for me when I was doing kickboxing, if I stayed with the game plan, I was a freaking rock star. Like I would go out there and I was a absolute rock star. But then if something hit me that I wasn't expecting or like around didn't go the certain way, like I did the exact same thing that you talked about. You started point B, go or point A to point B to point C, and then back to A instead of going to D and refreshing. And like when that like clicked for me, I was like, oh shit. Like how I personally took it was I started playing out scenarios. I was like, okay, well what are my setups? What would make me be like, huh, it has to do this for me to get into a trade. I need this, and this. The more confluence I have, the more I can size in, the better the play is. Once I get in, okay, well, what's your risk? Is it like a dollar risk? Is it off of like a structure? Like, is it like what makes me know exactly where my risk is? Because if you don't know where your risk is, you're not trading. You're just gambling. Like you have to know what is your entry, what is your risk, what are your targets, at least for me. And then like once I got into that, it's like, okay, how do I know if it doesn't work? Okay, well, it hit my risk. I'm out if it hits my targets, like okay, then like you that went into like a whole different layer for me at least, where it's like okay, well, what if I cover at my first target and it goes all the way back up? Do I still have my risk on, or do I go break even? Like, how do I work with my own emotions on that? And then I started going into like I'm a very complex person, and so like I went into like all these different layers, but like because of that conversation I had with you, I was like holy shit, I've been missing like in my personal opinion the biggest piece of like the puzzle for me because without that I wasn't really trading. And
Yeah. Yeah. You,
do you
you
think
have to have
that
a process. You have to have a process.
yeah,
You, there's, when I look at traders, I work with a lot of retail traders. I work with a lot of investment bank traders, traders in energy firms, traders in prop firms or hedge funds. And it's really interesting. But you as a retail trader, someone working at home on your own, okay, or in a prop firm, okay, I don't believe you can trade in the same way that an investment back trader can, because you don't have the same endowments they have. You don't have the same advantages they have. They sit in the middle of the noise and the flow all day long.
Yeah.
Okay, it's they've got people asking them for prices. They're making markets. Okay, it's a privileged position. You're so close to the flow, the information, the insight. It's not insider trading
But
in a
yeah,
way.
yeah, you can.
You're it's like you're swimming in the fish tank of the markets. You can feel the water, you can sense the danger, you can see. You're just swimming in the opportunity. That's what it's like if you're on the inside of the game. Okay. And that's what a lot of people do. They learn to harness that and make money out of that. You can't do that when you're retail trading from home or in a small prop firm, because you just don't have those edges. So what do you have to do? You have to trade setups. It's the only thing you can do. Your process is not going to be the same as their process.
Yeah.
I used to work with bank traders, and let's just say, I remember once I was working with a bank trader, and he said to me, he was a brilliant trader, he was an FX trader, and he'd sit at his desk, he'd walk in to his desk, and he'd sit there, and then someone would ask him for a price. That means someone would ask for a quote, and he'd quote them, and they'd hit him, and that was it. Now he had to defend that all day long. He was off from that one trade. He was adding more. He was quoting. He was over, turning it the other way around and having a position the other way, just eking out and clawing a little bit all day long from the noise that the sort of they call it the essence of the market. Okay, and that's how he made his money. Now one day he left to go to a prop trading firm, or rather a bank that wanted him to sit in a prop trading team, where he had no customers or no flow. And he didn't have a system for that sort of trading, a setup. He didn't have a setup system. And he said these words to me. He said, Steve, I sat there for 2 years and I didn't know how to start my day. I had no edge, no advantage, no one hitting me. I didn't know what to do. Okay. Now that is what flipped the other way around. You don't have those edges inside that he has. You have to be one of those guys on the outside, and you have to have a process. He didn't have a process because he'd never needed it, or rather his process was trading off people who asked him a price. Okay. You sit at home, you have to have setups. You have to. You have to find a playbook. You have to build a playbook. You have to find a system or method. And then that's not that complicated. You then have to be able to execute that under pressure. That's where your ego comes in, your emotion comes in, and where you start abandoning process, especially as the day goes on, and if you pardon my French, shit happens, and and it's a little bit like you said in a fight. You go in there all ready to follow your plan, and then
Someone punches in the face.
everyone has a punch until they get hit in the face, right?
Yeah.
The plan falls apart. Okay,
Yeah.
someone hits you, and immediately you're reacting, and now you're off plan. And that happens in the market all the time. You're sitting there, and I was looking at oil before, and it came down nearly $2 almost in a straight line, and you're sitting there, and you have a plan, and then suddenly some data hits, you can't get out of it, you can't get out at the level you wanted to get out. The next level is maybe 10 ticks lower, and you think, well, maybe I'll just hold on and see if it comes back, and it's $20 lower,
Yeah.
with 20 ticks lower, and then you're like, no, it's okay, I've just got to get out, but I can't do it here. Let's just see if there's a big bid comes in. And now it's $50 lower. And you're getting, and then you panic and you sell at $50, and then it bounces 20. And you go, shit, I sold. Why did I sell? Let me buy it back. And so you buy it back, and then it collapses another. And that's what it is. You're completely off plan.
Yeah.
You didn't follow your plan, which was to get out that first. And I did it for years, even in my later years as a trader. I did that. The market throws you out, and you're on a, you see the kind of red mist or just white.
Yeah, for me, it's part of being like triggered. Like your emotions take hold of you, and like once your emotions take hold, then I don't know, it's a flip of a coin. Like, do you reel it back in, or like does it just get worse and worse and worse? Like, how do you react to that? And I feel like that's where your experience and your time in the market, like that's where it's like, oh shit, hey, I can feel I'm slipping. I need to take this like 10-minute break. And at the very beginning when you first start trading, if you take your eyes off the screen for 1 second, you're gonna miss this amazing moment. And it's like, but with experience, you're like, oh, you're not gonna just miss out on everything in 10 seconds. And if
No,
and
but
if you do,
next
and if you
thousand
do, well,
months,
then you missed out because you didn't follow
the
your
next
process in the
100
first
days,
place.
another thousand of those moments.
Yeah,
If you miss one, that there's loads of them. You're not going to get all of them. You only need to get a few every now and then.
yeah.
You have to learn. You know, I always remember one client said to me, the art of this job is the art of doing nothing most of the time. And I was like, that's it.
What do you think is the like if you had to pick like one emotion or one thing that you've seen the most out of all the traders that you've worked with, like what do you think that would be, or like what would you uh
I don't think it's one emotion or one
one
thing.
thing?
I don't think it's one thing. I'm big into this idea of letting go,
Yeah,
of being willing to be vulnerable, which is part of letting go.
yeah,
What I see with the very best is that willing to be vulnerable, that willing to let go, that willing to get over something. I tell a story, and I don't know if you know this, but I don't know if you've read or any of your viewers or
viewers.
viewers, okay,
Yeah,
have read The Unknown Market Wizards,
yeah,
the last book by Jack Schrager, so far the
yeah.
fifth one of the series. And I coached quite a few of the traders in that book. And there's one of them called Amrit Sal, who is, for me, he's one of the most phenomenal traders um, you'll ever meet or I've ever met. And there's a story in it which, I remember him telling me this story where his keyboard froze over a data release, a big data release. And he had a position on, and, he programmed one of the keys that if the data didn't come out the way he wanted, it would just reverse it. So it could cancel, stop, reverse, partial reverse. He had all these keys set. The keyboard froze, literally. And he was smacking it. It's literally nothing he could do. It was stuck. And it was a huge figure with a huge move. And, by the time he managed to get to somebody else's keyboard and log into it and, get out of position, he dropped a quarter of his capital, 25% of his money had gone. And that was a lot of, he had
Yeah, yeah.
built up. And that night after work, he said to everyone, guys, there's a pub over the road. Everyone go down there. I'm buying drinks all night. Okay. And they went in there and the champagne flowed and he was buying it. And, one of his colleagues went up to him after a while and went, Emmerich, what are you doing? I don't get it. You've had the worst day ever. I've never known anyone have such a bad day. We've all had good days. You've had the day from hell. What is going on? He said, if that was me, I'd be at home, head in hands, moping, not talking to anyone, just sort of, just wouldn't be able to face the world. And Amrit went, well, that's exactly it. And put a line under it. It's done. It's gone. The money's gone. The moment's gone. It's over. There's nothing I could have done about it. Maybe I was stupid leaving a position I did into the data. Maybe I should have, had a backup keyboard. It was my fault. It's no one else's fault. It's not even the keyboard's fault. Okay, I'm accepting blame. I'm putting a line under it. Sure, I feel bad, but I'm coming out making a deliberate attempt to get over it. So tomorrow I start fresh. It's a new day. I'm actually celebrating the failure. Okay, and he came back and in a week he made that money back.
That's
And
awesome.
yeah, and he was back trading like nothing had happened. And he said, if I'd have gone home and moped, I may not have wanted to go into work the next day. I may have thought, screw this, I don't think I can face this. I may have gone in with a bad head, just revenge trading, or maybe either that, or maybe he'd have been afraid to trade, paralyzed with
Yeah.
fear. But he said, I just came in and, just started again. That was it. It was gone. Now that is to me the arch example of letting go. I know people who are brilliant at letting go, who don't do it that quickly, but that is a phenomenal. I mean, the guy is a pure mental trading black belt, if there's such a thing. He's incredible, and he's worth a read. Have a look at Unknown Market Wizards and his story. Um, there are so many great stories I've got of people being willing, to make themselves vulnerable and then let go. I told you the Muhammad Ali story. I
Yeah.
don't know if you remember that one.
Yeah, I
You know,
do.
willing to hear the negative feedback when everyone else was shutting him out
Yeah.
because they thought it ruined his confidence. You know, doing something different, getting over it, line under it, start again. It's gone. Don't beat yourself up. Don't blame yourself. In fact, that's almost the big theme that writes through my book, that goes through my book. You know, it's our ego that comes in
I
and
was
does
gonna
that.
say ego, like that. That's what's coming through to me. Like when you're saying that, I was like, I had the hardest time to do that because like at the very beginning of my trading, because of my kickboxing success, I thought that like I had this ego that I had to live up to, and that caused me probably the biggest setbacks because I shouldn't have been using the size I was using, and I used way too much size, and I'd have these crazy roller coaster of emotions. Like the highs were crazy, crazy high, but then the losses were too big, and I didn't have the experience to manage that. But you said something earlier that you're like, yeah, that's the easy part is having the playbook, and like, I don't know how I've never talked to anybody that's like really. Well, I've talked to a couple people in a prop trading firm, but like most retail traders that I've talked to, I have some guys that I talked to that have been trading for years, and when I started talking to them, the big breakthrough moment for me, like I said, was when I started figuring out my system, my process. And when I talk to them, I'd be like, the first thing I ask is, what are your setups? And in the niche that I do, the small caps world, everyone trades, a gap and crap, gap and extension, and like, maybe like a long or something like that. And so they would always tell me, oh, I trade, those three things. I'm like, okay, that's cool. Like, what does that look like? What's your risk? What's your targets? And like, I always just get like, I was like, do you like it would almost be like the cookie cutter version of a gap and crap. They hadn't like made it their own, which is what I feel like a lot of traders, I've mentored under I don't know, three or four different traders, and like I've learned from each one. What I did was I started taking bits and pieces from each one of them. I'm like, oh, that fits my personality or this or that or whatever. But like, I feel like what you said that that's such an easy thing to do. But I feel like in the real retail world, at least, I don't know. Like at least in my experience with the traders I've talked to, it seems like they don't do the most basic step. They don't actually have their own setups or another thing is they'll have like 50 setups. And it's like, well, why do you like which one which one what are you profitable on? Like, what are your stats? Like where should you focus your energy? And they're like, they're just they have so many different styles that it's like they can look at a chart and they can oh, this is a X, Y, and Z setup or whatever. And it's like, no, dude, like you're just like it's almost like an addiction. Like they're just trading to pushing a
Yeah,
button to push a button kind of thing.
yeah. I can understand why, because everyone kind of starts like that, and that feels like you're doing something.
Yeah,
You feel like you should be doing something.
yeah,
The irony of Amrit was he was the other way around. If the sets, this is why I said he was a pure kind of athlete. If the setup didn't align, even if it was really close, he would take it. And in the book he's called the sniper, and I coined that term for him. I
yeah,
said, like, man, you're like a sniper. It's like, if you ever read about snipers, they're great to read about. Okay, even if they've got the target in sight, they would not take the shot if they don't think they can get away alive. If the
I
shot,
remember I remember you use that a lot in my sessions because like I think the one thing that you caught on to was my risk. I
yeah,
might be able to take the shot, but it's like I either get the shot or I died.
the risk is revealing your position.
Yeah.
Take the shot, and after the shot, it's going to reveal your position, and you can't get out of there. You're dead. You're walking away with a heavy pack and a heavy gun and under fire. The dogs are released on you. And a sniper waits and waits and waits till that alignment is there. Now, it doesn't mean they're going to hit the target. It doesn't mean they're going to get away. That's the risk. But they've got to shift as many odds in their favor as possible. Okay. Um, and, that's what he was like. He could go weeks and weeks sometimes. He would come in and he wouldn't do a trade. And he was a day trader because it just, I can imagine myself in those days. I'd get bored, and after a week, I've got to do something. So I'd start doing something for the hell of it.
Yeah.
That sort of discipline that he's got is, it is so, and he has to be so right. He has to sleep right. He has to drink right. So I say when he's a training athlete, everything that goes in his body is, it has to be, it's all geared towards him just being right for the moment.
Yeah.
If he can't sleep right, if he's not feeling it even, he won't, if he's not feeling it, he won't do it. It's that simple. If he's not well, or, if he's been out, I remember him going for a big bachelor, you call it a bachelor party, we call it a stag weekend.
Yeah.
But I just wasn't feeling it for the whole next week because I had too much alcohol and stuff in my body. And, I wanted to enjoy that, but I had to forget the non-farm payrolls that week. I just wasn't ready for it. If I was going to trade it, I was going to trade it badly. So why bother? That was 5 days after he came back, or 4 days after he came back. So that sort of discipline around focus is what made him so incredible.
I think that's something that you gain from experience also though, is because like I remember when we first started working together, you would always tell me that because of my personality type that I need to listen to my gut and my intuition. And at that time I was still trying to figure out what my intuition was and like what like listen like learning how to listen to my gut. And then sometimes I would listen to my gut and it would have bad results. And I'm like, well, I can't listen to my gut now. Like but then after, I mean, what, it's been like 2 years since we worked together, 2 or 3 years, something like that. But like over time, I'm like, oh, it's kind of like what you said. Yeah, I got the shot. That doesn't mean I want to hit it every single time. But like I have that gut feeling, or like I feel like I'm on, or like think enough things are in alignment for me to take this trade, and I need to trust in that. And the more you start doing that over and over, I feel like I don't know, you start to learn like, okay, like I don't know how to listen to yourself, I guess.
It is, and that's it. The market is offering clues all the time. Okay, and you've got to listen, but you also need to have the process there. So
Yeah.
you're trying to align process and gut, because your gut is going to mislead you. Okay, at times it's going to it's going to send you a signal that makes it look like this is the best trade ever to go long, but it can't know everything. It's
Well, and the markets are going to shift. Like some things that worked 2 years ago, like you start seeing like the same fake breakouts or fake breakdowns, or whatever your playbook is or whatever. It's always
that's the
changing.
gut. That's the gut as well. If the gut is
Yeah.
telling you all this stuff isn't working anymore, it's a
Yeah.
new intuition. Well, I've got to rework out a new pattern, or I've got to take my wrist down until I start aligning again with the market. So there's so many different ways of gut. It's not always about choosing a risk. It could be choosing size. It could be identifying that something is no longer working. It can be, telling yourself to step away a little bit. That's your gut telling you that. You know, but to me, it's gut and process work hand in hand. As a trader, I got a gut feel this is going up. It doesn't. my process cuts me out. It's a stop, and it could be that I look at it and I go, okay, it's got a great risk reward. Everything lines up with this. My gut is telling me, and it's like, no, it didn't work. That's the process. That's the stop.
It's actually really funny because my buddy was trading the stock today actually, and I looked at the stock. I have no idea what it ended up doing, but I was like, man, that's a beautiful trade right there. But like I remembered when we used to do like our sessions and stuff, I would almost have a max loss every single day because like I would like and because I can't multitask. I have to like be laser focused on something and in that moment, I remember like looking at that. I was like, no, no, no. I need to get back to think about questions to ask Steve. I got a podcast. I'm like, no, no, no. I've been here. I've done this like 5 or 6 times. I'm not doing this. Like, shut down. And like, I have no idea if it worked out or not. But like, when I was looking at it, I was like, man, that's a beautiful trade. Like, that's a juicy one. That works. So that's gonna be a great trade. But I'm actually really I'm interested to see how that turned out. But I do know that it's super late over there, and I uh, I do appreciate you hopping on. You uh, good to wrap this up or
Yeah, yeah, I've got to bring it to a close, but I'm so pleased to get on here because I know you asked me a while ago, and this year's been a bit crazy. I've had a lot of travel. The book coming out has sort of, kind of sort of piled the workload on me.
how did that turn out for you? Like did you like the results of the book? Like do you think that it meet your expectations? Like
Yeah, and it's interesting because the reception has been great. The feedback I get about it is great. I get a lot of really nice comments from people on a daily basis about something the book's done for them. And for me, it was a real, personal journey. And I'm still reflecting on that. And I'm thinking about the next book because there's like a spawning coming from that. There's themes jumping out of it that people are saying, you've got to write a bit more about this or you've got to do that next time. I'm not sure my wife wants me to write another book.
yeah.
takes you takes your mind, takes your head away from somewhere. It says if we're going to do that, we're going to disappear to somewhere like Cape Cod for a year, and you're going to write it there and then come back. You
Oh, that'd
know.
be cool.
So yeah, yeah. But listen, do you know what? I've got a huge respect for you. Like I say, I went through that journey with you.
Yeah.
Um, honestly, what I got from you, and what I think a lot of people who are listening might need to get, is that you were willing to invest in doing something to make yourself better, to reach your potential. And maybe that comes from that sports mindset. Perhaps to you, the idea of coaching is not alien, or the idea of working on something. But, you were like, okay, I can get better, I could be better. I know I can. And I'm going to do about something. I'm not going to just close it and try and do it in my head. I'm going to try and and that's willing to make yourself vulnerable. That's what I'm talking about. A lot of people won't do that, and they won't do it because I went through that myself. All those years ago, I didn't ask for help. I didn't seek help. I just thought I could do it myself. And actually stepping outside of that is the vulnerable bit. That's humbling yourself. That's realizing that you know I could do this alone, but I could do it much better if I work with someone and ask for help. And I think that's your real power. I think that's like a superpower that you don't realize. And I think people listening should also check in with themselves and check in with their purpose and check in with, what can I do to make myself better? I can go it alone and risk failing, or I can try it with someone. And I think that's why the work you're doing is great because you're trying to help others as well.
I think that for me, when because I had quite a bit of success. Then I moved, and then I had all that stuff come up, and then I took a break and I listened to my gut, and that was the best thing ever because when I came back to trading, like really everything's just started clicking into place and it just took off. But like for me, I told my wife, she's like, "Why do you want to trade so bad?" And I think that the thing that like of course everyone that says it's not about the money is full of shit. But like, because it is about the money, but it's so much deeper than that. Because I really truly believe that trading made me a better person. And really, like for those people that, you know, haven't invested in themselves, like I swear to God, I've invested in mentors and I've done all sorts of stuff. If like if I could take everything back except for one thing, the one thing I would never take back is the sessions I have with you. I swear to God. If I'm lying, strike me down. Like because like really for me, like that was the most eye-opening. Like I really felt like I found out who I was because I had so many different things where I feel like you get attached to like your ego and like you other people will say things and like oh I don't want people to think bad of me or like what if I do this or like but with you I feel like I was able to just like start piecing pieces of my life together and it all just kind of came together. I was like I don't know. It really made me find who I am. Like when I go back and I watch the very first session I have with you and I see the person I am at the very end of that, those are two completely different people. But the funny thing is, like, I have bits and pieces. Each session, you can literally see it. If you go back and watch it, like, you find, like, I find more of myself out of every single session. And I feel like that's what I needed to do to really find trading. And, like, once I did, then it's like, okay you know, I'm a very confident person, and so like I need to like make sure that I don't go crazy big size. And so what I did to kind of humble myself and ground myself a little bit is like I started off like well actually this is like a new thing that I'm doing because I have students and they're having a hard time because they want to go from like zero to like a million. And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna prove it to you guys. I want to do a challenge where like how would I teach my mentoring students to start out and like so I'm gonna do like a like really probably like a like I in my head I'm thinking a year but like I don't know if I have the discipline for that of like running this out to where it's like, all right, this is exactly how I would build you guys up, and then show them like with my stats and like the results, like you guys could make good money by just following the process instead of just thinking about the money. And for me, that's like one of the biggest things is helping other people, like getting to see them achieve something is it's like one of the most amazing feelings ever, especially when people have been struggling for years. And they're like you said, they're about to give up on their dream and you can reel them back in. It's like, no, 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 dude, like you just need little adjustments. That's it. And I think that's a super cool thing and I'm working on that, but trying to balance that out with like family life and everything. It's a lot of stuff, but
Do you know
really,
what?
if anybody's thinking about doing something like and you're watching this, really like Steve is like hands down that like I would 100% recommend looking into that because the work I got with you is just I mean it's priceless. I really like to the day I die that's gonna be like one of the best investments of my entire life.
You know what? You remind me of when you were just talking just now. What you said. There's a great cartoon series by a guy called Doug Savage. It's called Savage Chickens.
Savage
Uh,
chickens.
there's there's a little chicken playing a violin, talking to a grown-up chicken.
Uh,
And I don't want to practice. I want to skip ahead to the part where I'm awesome.
yeah.
That's it. People don't want to.
Everyone's like that though. That's the problem. Is like I can't remember who I heard it from or whatever, but like you have to fall in love with the process because it's like okay, like what if I only care about the outcome, but the outcome takes me 30 years. Okay, awesome. I achieved it, but now the last 30 years of my life because I'm not being in the moment, I'm not enjoying the process. Like I just missed out on
Yeah,
everything. And so for me, it's like I don't know that was a big turning point for me and really every aspect of life.
yeah, yeah. You know, it really is amazing. And yeah, I tell you what, I want to thank you. I want to thank you very much. Okay. Okay. And this is brilliant. I wish you well. I really do.
Yeah, like I said, I truly appreciate you taking the time, especially like, it's super late over there. So, I appreciate you taking the time and really I look at you as really like a friend, and it's amazing to have somebody that I've been able to, I don't know, that's gotta help me grow up and become not only, the trader that I've always wanted to become, but, you know, really bring together all aspects of my life. And I'll always appreciate that. So I
I,
appreciate you taking the time to hop on this podcast with me. And I wish you the best. I can't wait to talk to you again.
I wish you well. Take care.
All right.
Cheers.